Hello, dear friends. Today I'm going to share with you a great work. It's a work which finally will give you the possibility to fulfill your wishes and needs, and which will bring a lot of positivity into your life. As a doctor specialized in psychotherapy, I'm working with a lot of people who are suffering from so many different kinds of problems, and very often they suffer because of patterns. Because of patterns they can see, but they feel that they cannot change them. I guess many of you also know some patterns you have, and maybe since quite some time you think they are disturbing you, or you don't like them, they are not serving you, maybe not serving you anymore, and you would like to change them. And many people who come to this point that they realize that they are somehow suffering under patterns and they want to change them, many of them realize that this is not easy. Maybe it's a big wish, but often after a short time of doing your best in order to change a pattern, you see that it's not working. It's like falling back into old patterns. And these old patterns can bring problems in relationships, can bring problems in your work life, can bring problems in the way how you deal with your body or with your health. And so many of my colleagues, many people who are working with psychotherapy are looking for tools. How, first of all, to understand from where all these patterns come from, and then second, of course, how to solve this and how to, let's say, implement something new, positive and healthy. And exactly this is a great work I would like to share with you. I will create 5 videos, and each video will have an exercise, and I will guide you through the exercises. I ask you to have paper and pen by the side, because again and again I will ask you to write down something. Below the video you will also find some explanation, and if you like the script you can also write an email to me, and then I send you the script. You will find also the information below the video. Okay, so how we start today? I think I should give you a very little background in order to have an idea why the patterns we find in ourselves are so, let's say, not easy to change. We must know that our patterns, the really deep patterns in us, they have been developed already in our childhood. Usually already in our first 6 to 7 years. And the patterns have been developed because of our surroundings. We can also say as an answer towards especially our parents and primary caregivers who have lived and acted in a certain way. So also they have followed certain patterns. And we must know that following the fact that more than 90% of our life is subconscious, and following the fact that as a child, the first 6 years for sure, we are like a sponge a person without filters. It means we take in everything what we perceive from the outside. So as we take everything in what we are perceiving from the outside, means it's all emotions we perceive, all the words we hear, all the things we see, all the acting and behaviors of the parents or other important people around us. Everything goes inside the child. And one thing is that the child very early starts to imitate everything. Of course, it's doing it subconsciously. And you know that, I guess each of you has observed children, or sometimes it's also very funny to see how a young child is imitating an adult. So this is one thing, the imitation, which will create patterns of behavior. The other thing is that if there is a surrounding where the parents or caregivers are not able to give love and attention to the child, but maybe a lot of comments or judgments, or even worse, a lot of frightening situations, maybe violence, something what is scaring the child. So if this happens, so I could say a negative surrounding. If this happens, the child is living in such a surrounding. The child, just by the subconscious ruling, will find solutions, will find ways how to survive in this negative surrounding. And from this developing patterns, the deepest patterns are created, which normally follow us our whole life. So these patterns, I just want to give you maybe 2 or 3 examples. It could be, for example, something like this, that a child finds the solution to be always very quiet and withdrawn, somehow like not visible, in order not to attract attention from a maybe violent parent. This means that the pattern of being very silent and more or less invisible will stay all life as a very, very good survival pattern. But of course, you see that clearly. This is a pattern which will not serve the adult. In many, many situations, it would not serve an adult very good. So, for example, if you want to develop your professional life, or if you are in a relationship, for sure there is a necessity to show up, to speak, to express your opinions. So this is just one example. Another example, of course, could go into the opposite direction. For example, with a very aggressive pattern. Maybe if there had been the necessity to fight, let's say there had been the necessities to react towards other children who also had been fighting. So maybe the child had to develop this ability to be aggressive and to show up and to fight. And of course, looking to an adult, if an adult is going on with this deep pattern, of course it would create or will create a lot of problems in relationships, in society, and the work life. So, okay, I think I will not go on with creating examples, because now it's about you to start to discover the sources of your patterns, also the sources of your beliefs. So this first video in total is a bit longer than the following videos, because now I've given you a little introduction, and now the exercise will follow, and in the following videos I will go straight into the exercises. And with the last video, of course, I will give you a bit more input in order to see how you will work and how you will use the solutions. Okay, now for the first exercise, I ask you to have paper and pen by your side, and the exercises I will do with you. I ask you always that you will sit relaxed, and that you will close your eyes, and then I will guide you very shortly into a little relaxation inside your body, and then I will guide you to the task of the exercise. So now in this first exercise, I will guide you to your heart, and I will ask you that you invite your inner child. Your inner child. So let's say the little Caroline or the little John, whoever you are with your name, you invite your inner child, and this inner child should not be older than 10 years. So more or less until end of primary school. Then when you have invited your inner child, of course you say hello to each other, and you will start to ask questions. And in this first exercise you will have 4 questions, and I will ask you to stop the video after each question, because then when you have stopped and you perceived answers from the inner child, because the inner child is the one who will give you the answers, then after you receive the answers, you can open the eyes and write down the answers from the inner child. And then when you have done this, you go on with the video, and you will hear the next question, and you will ask the inner child again, and so on. Okay, for the paper, I would suggest you for the first exercise to prepare something like this. You write down father or male caregiver and mother or female caregiver, and you write down column A. You will find here the answers about negative characteristics of your parents, and then here column B. Here you will write down the positive characteristics of your parents. Okay, so now you can find a comfortable position, and then you can close your eyes. And like a very simple body scan, you can move with your inner attention through your body. I suggest you move through your body inside, from your head towards your feet, and just perceive how you are here in this moment. It's just about bringing your attention to the inside. It's a little body scan with your attention inside your body. You perceive how you are here now in this moment. With the next step, you can touch with one or with two hands or fingers the area of your heart. By touching the area of your heart, you give a signal to your brain that now your focus is on your heart. And you go into contact with your heart. You can say hello to your heart. Just hello, my dear heart. Maybe it's something very new. Maybe you have never done this. You have not felt this kind of contact, going into contact with your heart. For sure it is working, and you can ask your heart that you can move deeper into your heart, because this exercise, this work, works wonderfully from the heart. So allow yourself to move deeper into your heart, and then you can start with your own inner voice, with your own inner words. You can start to invite your inner child. Use the name of your inner child and invite it, and see how it's coming. Maybe it's already there, or maybe it's also a little bit shy. Maybe it's also a very unusual situation to meet your inner child in your heart. However, you say hello to each other. Maybe give your inner child a big hug. And tell your inner child that you are going to ask a few questions. It's very important that you ask your inner child. It's about the child who has the answers. In this exercise, it's not about the adult. It's about the child who has the answers. And so, the first question for your inner child is, what can you tell me about the father or the male caregiver? What can you tell me about the father and negative characteristics? Maybe something which was frightening you, which was frightening the child, or which was annoying the child. The child didn't like these characteristics. So ask your inner child, what are the negative characteristics of your father? And you perceive the answers. Maybe your inner child starts to tell situations or stories. That's fine. And maybe you can ask your inner child to be clear, give you clear information what it had been, what the inner child has feared about the father, what the inner child didn't like about the father. And when you perceive informations from your inner child, you can open your eyes and write down the informations in this part of the paper with the negative characteristics of the father. And it's called column A. So you write them down, and here you can stop the video until you have written down everything, and then when you start the video again, we go on with the next question. Now when you come back, once again you close your eyes, take contact with your heart, go into contact with your inner child. And now the next question, of course, is about your mother or the female caregiver. You ask your inner child, what are the negative characteristics of your mother? Characteristics which maybe have annoyed you or which have scared you and you didn't like these characteristics. Ask your inner child. Once again, take your time to listen to the answers, and when you have perceived the answers, once again you're going to open your eyes and write them down, and you stop the video for doing this. Once again, when you come back, after writing down the negative characteristics of your mother, you close your eyes, you take contact with your heart and contact with your inner child. And now you ask your inner child, what had been the positive characteristics of your father? What are the characteristics which the inner child has liked or loved? What had been the positive characteristics your inner child enjoyed? Once again, you take time to perceive the answers, and when you have perceived them, you will once again open the eyes and write them down. And please stop the video for this time. Once again, you come back, close your eyes, go into contact with your heart and in contact with your inner child. And then ask your inner child, what had been the positive characteristics of your mother? What had been the characteristics you liked, you loved, you enjoyed? Perceive the answers of your inner child about the positive characteristics of your mother. And when you have perceived them, You can open your eyes and write them down. And once again, stop the video. Now, after coming back, you have had 4 questions you have asked your inner child, and you come once again back into contact with your heart. Close your eyes again, go in contact with your heart, and once again into contact with your inner child. And now you can say thank you very much to your inner child. Your inner child has given you a lot of very important information. So they say thank you. Give your inner child a big hug. And you can tell your inner child that you will come back for another exercise, maybe tomorrow, if you have time tomorrow, when you go on with the videos. And so you can already look forward to have another meeting with your inner child. And so you can say goodbye. You can also say thank you to your heart, and then come back with your attention towards your breathing. It's good before you open your eyes just to go with your attention to your breathing and just perceive how you breathe in and how you breathe out. And then you take 2 or 3 very conscious, deep breaths. Then you can open your eyes, maybe stretch a bit, and be aware that you are coming back from this exercise. And for sure, you have perceived quite some answers. Maybe you will write it down once again in a good way. I show you once again how I did it. So it's column A, it's negative characteristics of the father and the mother, and column B is the positive characteristics of the father and the mother. And it could be that now after this exercise and this video, you will feel that there's more information coming, and if you feel that it is really coming from the inside, deep from your inside, you can also write it down, because then probably it is just more information, and it brings you into the process of finding the sources of your beliefs and of your patterns. So at that point, I finish this first video, and I suggest you, when you have the videos, that you go one by one, not all in one day, maybe one day after another, video 1 until video 5, because this is the right sequence. So it's also not good to start with video 4 or 5. It will bring a bit of chaos. That's not necessary. So we try to go very quiet from one exercise to the other, and I promise you, you will understand a lot with the following exercises, and you will find wonderful solutions. Okay, that's it for today. I wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to see you for the next exercise. Bye.